Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to be practicing creating value in a painting. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. In my painting here, you can see that I've created value in order to create the effect of this object being three-dimensional. I think it looks like a spill on the ground. I added a little bit of white highlights to make it look like it's popping out, and a little bit of shadows as well. And that's something that we will add next week. Today you're going to get a white piece of paper and a printout with your spill shape on it. The first thing that you have to do is glue your spill to your white background. I'm going to start with my glue stick, and I need to make sure it says peekaboo. I'm going to go ahead and turn my paper around, and I'm going to add glue to the border of the back of my printed paper. And I'm going to add just a few squiggly lines to the middle. I don't need to add too much. Then I'm going to stick it on the middle of my white paper and give it a massage. And I'll turn it around and give it a back massage. While I'm back here, I need to make sure to write my name and class code. The reason we stick it on this paper is because since I had to make copies from this paper, it's really thin and we want it to hold up to the thick paint. Today you're going to get all different colors of the rainbow. If you notice my paper, it goes in rainbow order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Doing it this way also allows me to see that primary colors are on the left and secondary colors are on the right. If you recall, primary colors are colors that cannot be made by mixing other colors together. But if you mix two of the primary colors, it will get a secondary color. Red and yellow make orange, yellow and blue make green, and red and blue make purple. After you've glued your paper and added your name and class code, it's time for the first step. I've already started on this paper here. You can see that my very first step is to add the colors to the background. Colors that do not have lightness or darkness added, so no white or black has been added, are called a hue. We can call these the original colors. So my hue for the next part is orange. I like to start by outlining my shape. This creates a border so that when I go to paint the entirety of this shape, I can go a lot faster because I'm already kind of blocking off this area that's easy to go outside the lines. Now that I have added a border to my shape, I am going to make sure that I'm painting all in the same direction. I'm painting from left to right, but you could paint up and down or diagonally. Whatever works for you is totally fine. I just want to make sure that I cover everything and that my painting is nice and even and I'm going all in one direction. When we paint, we always want to make sure that we are taking our time and moving nice and slow. By doing this, it's going to turn out for the better. Now, I'm having trouble getting this line right here, so I am going to go in a different direction, but I can smooth that out by moving my paintbrush right over. One thing we want to be careful of when coloring in spaces is any thick lines of paint that we start to see. If you're seeing a lot of thick, gloopy lines, you might want to go ahead and just take a dry paintbrush. All right, now that I have finished with the orange background, I'm going to go ahead and make my tint. So I'm going to take my paintbrush, I'm going to scrubby, and wipey. And now it's time to mix a tint. A tint is when we add white to a color to make it lighter. So I'm going to start with a white base. All right, in order to mix my tint, I will be adding white to the color I just painted to make a lighter orange. This is going to make my bubble look like it's transparent and kind of sitting on a surface. Whenever you mix colors, you always want to start with the lightest color as your base and then slowly add in the darker color, because it takes a lot less of a darker color to turn a lighter color darker than it does to, if I were to say start with orange and add white, it would take a whole bunch of white to make it lighter. So it's easiest to start with your lightest color first. So I've put quite a bit of white on my paper. This is probably a little bit too much. And I'm just gonna go ahead and mix in the tiniest bit of orange. You can see it doesn't take much to turn it an orange color. So that's probably enough orange to go ahead and paint inside my bubble here. Once again, I wanna make sure that I'm adding a nice outline. If you go a little bit on top of that black line there, it's not a huge deal. So I'm making my outline, and now it's time to make sure that my paint strokes are going all in the same direction. Didn't add any more paint when I went to fill it in because I already had a lot of gloopy lines on the outside there. So looks pretty good to me. Now, I'm gonna keep going. You wanna fill in your entire paper so that each square has one hue or color without white or black in it and one tint, or your hue with white added. When you're totally finished, you might have a chance to add white highlights to the round edges of your bubble here. If you don't have time for that, if you haven't finished, not a big deal. We can get to that next week. You only want to do highlights on one side though. Make sure that the other side is reserved for your shadow.
Alright, time for me to move on to yellow. I'm going to go ahead and paint my background here. This one should be easy because it's a pretty small background. I've got a lot of yellow paint, so I'm going to wipe some off my brush because I think that's quite a bit. I'm going to start with my outline here. And then I'm going to go ahead and smooth my paint all the way out. Alright, time to mix my tint. I always need to make sure that it's scrubby and wipe my brush before I get a new color. Alright, so now I'm going to mix my white yellow, and that's probably about all the paint I need. It's not a huge space that I'm filling in. Make sure to rinse my brush before I add the yellow to it. And time to mix. I think that's a pretty good pale yellow. I might steal a little bit of this white over here, just because that yellow shows up pretty pale anyway, so I want to make sure the lighter version is super light. Alright, yeah, that looks perfect. So I'm just going to outline the bubble, and then go ahead and fill in the rest. Oops, there's something in my paint. Alright, that looks pretty smooth to me.
Now that I'm finished with that, and it's on the left side, I might have some time to steal some white over here and put it in that round part to make a highlight. And I'm gonna make it just a little bit nicer. All right. All right, and there you have it. I have officially made my bubble with hues and tints. I've added different values to make it look like it is popping up from the surface. Next week, once this dries, we'll use some chalk pastel to add a shadow to really make it pop. I am so excited to see what you create, boys and girls. Happy art making!